You know, sometimes I'll buy a pen just out of curiosity. If you've watched my channel for any length of time, you know that I like vintage pens, I like modern pens. And this is about as vintage as it gets when you can find something like this. This is a pen made by the Franklin Pen Company, and I'll see if you can see that very well. Franklin Self-Filling Safety Pen. And this pen comes from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. That's where the Franklin Pen Company. Makes sense, you know, Benjamin Franklin from Philadelphia. Matter of fact, I've walked by where his old shop used to be in Philly. This particular pen was probably manufactured somewhere between 1900 and 1905. Or '04, I guess, more accurately. And the reason I say that is the Franklin Company was around making eyedropper fillers during the late 1800s, and right around 1900 is when they came out with this. This particular model is a syringe filler. Now, it's not like you fill it like you would an eyedropper with a syringe, but more that it's the same idea where you've got a plunger on the back where you would pull it backwards in order to suck up ink into the pen. Sort of like some modern day pens that are made in India or are in use by noodlers. And this is a kind of a small pen, but it intrigued me. So I went ahead and got it because of the fact that it's an old black chased hard rubber pen, which I like BCHR pens. I like the fact that it's vintage, but I didn't have anything by Franklin, and it was one of those models I've heard of, but I just never really been able to put my hands on it. So I went ahead and purchased it, and it got shipped to me here to my home, and it was a clipless pen. Never seems to have ever had a clip to it. But the chasing and the condition of this pen was excellent. Considering this pen's about 120 years old, I said this is actually in pretty doggone good condition. So it is a screw top, and you've got a nice, beautiful, flexible nib on it, manufactured with the Franklin imprint on that particular pen. And on the back side is where they keep the syringe. So you unscrew the back end, and come on. And this piston, this is actually the rod to a piston that comes down in here and is a syringe. And it doesn't hold a tremendous amount of ink. That's not a very large barrel in terms of its girth, nor in the length of the throw of that particular piston. So I've actually filled this up twice so far, and I've tried using it an awful lot. This is kind of a persnickety pen, for a lack of a better way of putting it. I don't know the condition of the feed on the back side of that feed, nor of the gasket on that plunger or on that syringe. But I can tell you that this particular pen, when it writes great. I've used it and done some letter writing with it, but as soon as you apply any pressure to that nib, where you would flex that nib a little bit, it stops writing, and you got to shake it in order to get some ink down flowing down into the channel to be able to come out. So it may take a little bit of nib work to kind of perfect it, to get it to where it's a very reliable writer. But for the most part, this is just a collection piece for me at this point. But I do tend to use it when I can get it writing, because ever since I bought it, I've been playing with it because it's kind of fun to write with. So I'm going to put that right down here, and I'm going to put a couple pens near it so you can see how small that pen really is. There's a Waterman Karen, to give you an idea. A Pilot Varsity. Maybe I'll put that Varsity right up next to it, since the Varsity is not a big pen. I mean, it's one of those disposable modern pens by Pilot, but it still is pretty big by comparison. And I'll throw in a Parker 45 in Flighter, a Flighter version of the Parker 45, and the Waterman Karen. So you can see this is actually a fairly small pen, and I don't usually like very small pens, but for the the size of it and the age of it and the condition of it is what really intrigued me. So to find a pen from probably, I say 1900 because the documentation that I found online, or the information I found, was that they started to manufacture this particular syringe filler right around 1900. And the last known documentation of the Franklin Pen Company even being in existence is somewhere around 1904. So that's why I would put this pen between 1900 and 1904. So just the condition, the sheer condition of it, to me was stunning, that a pen that's a good 120 years old maintained the fantastic imprint on that pen. In addition to that, the black the chasing on that is really nice and really distinct, and it's not worn down whatsoever. So the outward physical condition of this pen was just outstanding, and it looks really, really good. No complaints about the physicality of it whatsoever. But writing on it, that's another story. And actually was writing for me. Let's go ahead and try it. This is a Franklin BCHR. This is a syringe filler. See? A syringe filler with a beautiful flex nib. But when you go to flex with it, you instantly lose your writing ability. And you got to kind of prime it a little bit. So let me do that a little bit, and so I can go back to writing. So Franklin, circa 1900 to 1904. Now this is a great writing pen when it writes. I've got no complaints, and I kind of like the performance of it, but as you can see, what do you expect? It's a 120-year-old pen. So this may take some nib work if I really want to get it to go, but it's got a nice flex to it. It's got a heavy ink flow. This isn't the most fountain pen friendly paper in the world, but then again, when you got a great big blurb of ink that just comes right out, what do you expect? So anyway, there you go. This is a Franklin. It is a self-filling safety pen is what they call it. And it's just one of those I picked up out of curiosity. And, for 120 years old, it's kind of fun to play with.